Hello, I'm Namulanta Kombo, and this is Dear Daughter from the BBC World Service. I'm collecting letters of advice for my daughter Coco, and for daughters everywhere. You can find and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. This season, I'm talking to parents who are stars in their fields, actors, sports stars, scientists, about the advice they have for their daughters. Today, I am super excited to be talking to podcaster Audrey Akande. She's half of the Receipts podcast, which is one of the biggest in the UK. They've been going since 2016 with unfiltered chat, gossip, and advice. Hi, Audrey.
Hi.
How are you?
Really well, thank you.
To be podcasting since 2016, that's a lot of conversation.
It is indeed.
How often are you recording?
So we're recording once a week, but we're actually out 3 times a week. So we tend to record everything in one day. But it's a lot of talking in one day.
It's a long day.
Yeah, it's a long day.
So for people that haven't listened to the podcast, could you tell everyone that's listening what it's about?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Receipts podcast is, like you said in your intro, unfiltered girl chat. You know, it really is just about the trials and tribulations of womanhood. My co-host Tolly and I, we share all our life experiences, things that we've been through in relationships, in, you know, social situations, work problems. And then we also have sort of like a sub show called Your Receipts, where our listeners write in with their dilemmas. So we've been agony sisters since 2016, giving people advice and yeah.
But it does sound like you and Tolly are just like sat in your living room, one of your living rooms, just having a nice chat.
Yeah. I'm so glad you said that, because that's what we want. We want it to feel like you are part of a conversation, part of our conversation. We genuinely are best friends, Tolly and I. So it just comes so naturally. It feels so easy. Yeah. It really is just reflective of the conversations we actually have, like, you know, off camera and off air and stuff like that. So I would say, yeah, now it's easier than ever because I'm genuinely just chatting to my best friend.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
And it is magical to have people feeling like, you know, they're just a third person in the room. I think that's a magical environment to have created. But do people come up to you thinking like they actually know you?
Yes.
Like they actually were in the room sat with you?
All the time. And I get it, because we do share such intimate details about our lives. Like I would feel like I knew me too. Yeah. And sometimes we meet people and they're quite forward or full on when they approach us, and we understand it's because they know so much about our lives. And then, you know, I always say you basically know everything about me. So, you know, yeah.
And you have a daughter now.
I do.
How old is she?
She is, oh my God, I'm going to be that person I said I'd never be, but she's 16 months.
You're about to whip out your phone and show us pictures.
Yeah, I had to be that person because I always used to get onto mums that did that. I was like, why do people say 15 months, 14 months? Your child is 1. But now I completely get it.
Yeah,
I get why it's necessary, because she's not just 1.
Yeah.
You know?
She is 18 months.
Exactly. Exactly.
And what's she like?
She is such a character. She doesn't look anything like me. She looks just like her dad, but she has all of my personality, I think. She is really, really feisty. She's so inquisitive. She's so funny. She's really, really clever. I mean, I don't know, everyone says that about their kids, but I genuinely feel like she's so clever and so advanced. Like, my favourite thing to do is to watch her play.
Yeah, why?
Because it's just so interesting how I've noticed that her form of play is imitating what she sees me doing. Like, she's a very girly girl, so she loves her dollies. She loves nurturing. I've noticed that quite young, but she's that way inclined already. And she has quite a few dolls and she lines them all up and she gives them all their bottles one by one. Then she'll go to her pots and pans and she'll be making imaginary food. And it's my favourite thing to watch. Like, if she sees a rug or something, her initial thing is to get up and like clean something. It's really, really interesting. But yeah, she's such a little character.
I think it sounds like a weird thing to say, but usually people will leave their children there playing so that they can do something else, get the washing done or whatever, or work.
Yes.
And you miss so much by not just watching your kids. So I think it's amazing that you do that. But you've written her this amazing letter.
Yes.
Which I'm grateful that you're going to share with me on the podcast. So why don't you read it?
Yes.
And then we can get into some chat about
Absolutely.
what you wrote about.
Okay, here it goes. To my little baby girl, you're such a blessing to this world. Watching you experience life through your fresh, new and excited lens fills me with joy I didn't even know existed. Through this letter, what I hope to leave you with is the audacity to take up space in this world that will try to tell you otherwise. Right now, you're so innocent, and I love watching you in your purest form, loving, kind, assuming people want to offer the same love you project. What makes me sad is knowing that we'll have to strip a small part of your loving nature away because unfortunately, not everybody has pure intentions. But I promise to create an environment that offers balance and allows you to radiate all the love you have to offer in the comfort of your loved ones. Don't let anyone dim your shine. Your voice matters. Be assertive but kind. Be curious but not invasive. Go high even when they go low. Remember, you're not an extension of me, but your own person who will have the authority and permission to take ownership of her life and steer it in the direction you want. As your mum, I am nothing more than a loving satnav who can offer guidance and support. You'll always have a home with me, and long after I'm gone, I hope to have filled you with enough self-love and confidence to navigate this world. And if you ever feel lost, you have a podcast with hours worth of my voice to bring you comfort. Love you forever, Mummy.
So how did you feel writing that? Was it difficult?
Yeah, at first it was, because there's so much I could say about to my daughter. There's so many. Exactly. I didn't know where to start. But once I found an angle which was a message that I would want to leave her, that can stay with her forever, long after I'm gone, I got into the flow of it and then got really emotional. I was in tears writing it. Yeah. And, you know, I'm not really that way inclined. Like, it takes a lot to make me cry. But, I got very emotional writing it. Yeah.
You think you'll keep at it? Writing her letters.
Yeah, definitely, actually. I think it has actually inspired me to maybe do something like this for her yearly, that she can read and, you know, that she, like a series of letters that she can have, you know, throughout life. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've always said it's such a precious gift. My daughter's 9 and I started writing to her just before she was born, I think.
Yeah.
But it was born of the same thing. Like, okay, I have a real close relationship with my own mum. And my mum's the type of person who I will call her for anything and everything, yeah. And she will pick up and she will go through it with me. It doesn't matter how big or how small it is. And I was thinking, what if I'm not there to be that person to my own daughter? What's going to happen? Who's going to tell her all these things that she needs to know? You know, her forehead might be shiny with the wrong lights, you know, or what to do with money. And, you know, so I started writing. You just don't know where to start. But I feel like once you get into it and you just start wherever you pick, and keep going, it is such a precious gift to leave to someone that you love. And you talk about, in your letter, you had a difficult pregnancy, didn't you? So even just looking back and what you have now compared to what, you know, the experience.
Yes.
Could you tell me a bit about the experience?
Oh my God, yeah. I have been quite vocal about it on my podcast and stuff. Like, I did not enjoy pregnancy. And it was crazy because I really wanted to be pregnant. I really wanted to be a mum so badly. And I finally got it. And I felt so bad that I wasn't enjoying the experience, but I had a lot of physical side effects that weren't great, but I knew that at the end of it, it was absolutely going to be worth it. But yeah, pregnancy wasn't kind to me. I had terrible HG, so I was vomiting the whole time, you know, from like 6 weeks till the day I went into labour.
And this is not just in the morning. This is feeling it
all day.
Yeah.
This is like consistently. I had really bad heartburn. I was on medication for that. And then of course all the usual things that everyone gets. So it wasn't a nice experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get this little girl and she changes your life.
Yeah.
And you're hopeful. And there's all these things that you want to say to her that will help her grow positively as a person. But I'm thinking about all the stuff that you have to warn her about as well.
Yeah.
And you talk about it in the letter about stripping away that love to make way for safety.
Exactly.
Could you tell me a bit about that and what you were thinking when you wrote that?
Yeah, I was thinking about her nature. Yeah. And she is anybody that comes into contact with her is like, she's such a loving babe. Like, she literally goes up to strangers with her arms up and asks to be picked up and gives hugs. You know, we've been in so many restaurants where she's done that. And luckily, I do feel like kids sense energy because everyone that she's picked has been receptive to it. And I don't know what I would have done if she went up to a stranger with her arms out for a hug and then they've just kind of like batted her away, which, because of the world we live in, I also understand. But luckily, everyone's been so warm and receptive. And I wish the world was like that. You know, I wish it was safe enough for her to be that way, but unfortunately it's just not the way of the world. So I'm gonna have to teach her you can't be that way. And it's a shame because she is a baby, so it is completely innocent, you know, and it is her at her core, like just expressing love. But, you know, she won't be able to do that forever.
Yeah, I know. And I was having a chat just, a few minutes ago for girls, how early your safety is compromised and how long that impact can last.
Yes.
Can last a lifetime. Have you thought about how you would tell her these things? I know she's very young now, but have you started to think about how to keep that life alive in her, and her personality about her, but still warn her?
She's still really young, so she doesn't get it, but we do kind of introduce it in very subtle ways now, in ways that she can understand. But you know, for her own safety and protection, we do have to be quite stern about it, you know, about protecting herself and making sure that she isn't, you know, talking to strangers, approaching strangers and stuff like that. But how I'm going to counteract that is by creating a home environment that it's limitless. You know, how she wants to express herself is limitless, you know, within the confines of family and friends and people that I know, I trust, and people that I know have her best interests at heart. You can be as free as you want here.
Yeah.
And I would like to think that there would be some balance in her being able to do that. So I would hate for it to be a consistent thing, you know, where she has to be so careful all the time and that she has no freedom and there's so many restrictions. So I think so long as she has somewhere she can express that, then she has that outlet, then that's super important.
And it's not just the safety angle, it's also and kindness, you know, in the playground, or it is liking someone for the first time as a teenager and not having that felt back towards you. So it's like different. It's not just that safety angle. Absolutely. It's, you know, it's how to protect yourself from the various things that the world will throw at you that hurt. Yeah. But you've talked about a safe space, which is the environment and your home, a home space that she feels comfortable in. What's a safe space to you?
It's just filled with people that love her, you know, filled with the ability for her to express herself. A safe space for me isn't just about her being able to necessarily do what she wants all the time, but for her to be able to vocalize how she's feeling. I really want to have a real open line of communication. I think I had that with my mum to a certain extent. And my mum probably didn't have that as much with my grandma, but I want her to know that she does have a safe space at home, and me in particular.
If we talk about the pod, the Receipts podcast, and this unfiltered chat, and it's great to watch. And it makes you feel like, you know, I want to call my friend. I want to go and sit with my friend and talk to them. How have you been able to create a space that feels safe for you, even as you are so much out there in the public and talking about things that are personal? Could you talk to me about creating a safe space where you can do that? But it's a bit different because then you go out there and somebody's talking to you about personal stuff.
No, it is tricky. It is a tricky thing to balance because I'm the kind of person, by nature, I'm an oversharer anyway. Even though we share a lot, I'm still very careful. And like early doors, we kind of said to ourselves, you know, talk about as much as you want from the past, but stuff that's maybe current, I tend to be quite protective of. And for me, that's how I ensure that I have like a safe space, because some things have to be for yourself. You know, I'm very also protective of people in my lives. Like, I don't want them to be identifiable. My husband's a very private person. I don't talk about things that are going on in our relationship and stuff like that currently. I could talk about lessons and things that have happened in the past quite loosely, but I don't tend to talk about things that are happening in real time. And that's how I kind of create that balance where the audience feel like they're getting a lot, because they are, because it's all real and it's all true, but you still have to keep some stuff to yourself, you know.
And is that something you figured out once you were pregnant?
I did, yeah. I think that was like I guess a cultural thing as well. like, you know, I'm Ghanaian and my mum just about understands what I do now, like going and like online and telling my business. Like, she's just about gotten around that. But exactly. She's just about got her head around that. But the pregnancy, I had no intentions of sharing that until I felt really confident. And funnily enough, I didn't feel confident being pregnant. I don't know why, but I was really paranoid the whole time. And I guess I just felt really protective of this thing that I'd I'd always wanted, just because it was something that was so precious to me. But I've always kind of had that mentality just about anything that's going on in my life, like just monitoring how much and being mindful about how much I share and what I keep to myself.
So what's the Ghanaian, because it's probably similar to the Kenyan view of just not sharing or not talking about your pregnancy until, I think, I don't know how many months, but for us it's like, well, like maybe like 4 months, 5 months.
Yeah.
And then you don't have guests over until, like, you know, until the baby's like quite big. Is that the same?
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah.
Like, if my mum had it her way, she still doesn't understand the fact that I did like a pregnancy reveal. Like, I took a picture and posted it on socials, but I was 7.5 months gone when I did that. And my mum was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you've done that, blah, blah, blah." But it's definitely a cultural thing that you don't share. And so I guess you're showing and you can't help it at that point. But yeah, and then you're not really supposed to have guests over because they're just paranoid about germs and stuff like that, which is understandable.
Yeah, an evil
An evil eye, exactly. Evil eye, that one.
So just not just with the podcast, but just with you in general and the ambition that you had and the goals that you had. Has parenting changed that in any way for you? Has it reinforced? Has it sort of veered you off what you thought you'd be doing or the direction you'd be taking?
Now that I'm a parent, it's made me realize that I can't actually just wing it anymore. Like, I need to have a plan in place. I need to make sure that, you know, there's money coming in, because I've got a life to think about now. You know, I've got someone else to think about, and I consistently, I think it's one of my number one things, worry about her future, you know, and just giving her the best. But I don't think it's necessarily hindered my career in any way. If anything, it's kind of driven me to want to go harder and, you know, be an example for her, but also be financially stable for her and set myself up to be in a position to be at home as much as possible, which I really enjoy. You know, we record 1 day a week, and so the rest of the time I'm at home with her.
Yeah.
And I really consider that to be a privilege, that I'm able to kind of create my own schedule and work how I want to work and pick and choose projects that I want to do that kind of center around being a mum.
How are you doing with sort of juggling stuff and balancing the working mum side, the wife side, the friend side, the mummy side?
It is hard. I've really struggled because I think because I had a 9 to 5 for so long, I'm still in that mode. So I genuinely, the way my brain works, I feel like I need to be productive between the hours of 9 and 5. Like, I don't really have rest time during those hours. Like, I very much reserve that for the evening. It's so weird, and like the weekends, but it does get tricky because I always feel like I should be doing something. Like, even if I'm just at home, you know, watching her play, and like maybe I'm having a cup of tea, I'm like, oh, I could be doing something productive that's going to benefit her future. I could be doing this. I could be preparing dinner. Like, you know, I am quite hard on myself when it comes to rest. But because I used to be a PA, I'm quite good at juggling because I'm very organised, you know. I'm actually probably worse at being spontaneous. I have issues with that side, but I think I'm juggling okay. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself though. And I try to alleviate the pressure sometimes. I'm like, listen, it's okay that you didn't do everything on the list today. It's actually okay. Like, you know.
Yeah, my mum, she's always said to me that you are juggling, but you need to know that you're juggling glass balls and you're juggling rubber balls. And the ones you need to worry about are the ones that will fall and shatter. There's a lot of them that will bounce. Just make sure the balls that can't be fixed don't fall.
That's really good advice.
So what do you do when things go off schedule?
I can be hard on myself, you know, but I'm really trying not to do that, because again, going back to the analogy, which is so perfect, oftentimes they're the rubber balls. They're not. It's not anything that can't wait till tomorrow. Nothing is that important. What's most important is that, you know, the baby is happy, fed, watered, sleeping, the house hasn't burnt down, and, you know, work is ticking over. It's fine. And, you know, I'm really lucky in having a co-host like Tolly, because she's a friend and she's so understanding to my situation. Like, she understands that I'm a mum, and if she has to take something on, she'll take it on. I was quite hard on myself before, trying to fix things and all the rest of it, but now I'm learning to just let it go. You know, it can wait till tomorrow.
Do you feel that pressure now? Because there used to be 3 of you on the podcast, and now it's not just the content that needs to be created between 2 people, but it's also the admin stuff and the meetings and the creative side of how you're going to develop this podcast. So how do you now work that dynamic?
Luckily, it didn't impact us too much because around the time we went from a 3 to a 2, we'd acquired a team, which we'd never had before. So for 7 years of doing the podcast, we did everything in-house.
Yeah.
You know, we were managing the social media, we were managing the actual production of the podcast, the execution of every single thing we were managing in-house. But then it got to a point where I think, you know, we said to ourselves, actually, we need to outsource some of this. We're exhausted. So by that time, we'd acquired a team. So a lot of the load had been lifted. All we had to do was worry about coming in and just creating and just being the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah, and figuring out this new...
And figuring out, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I think one of my biggest heartbreaks in life has been the breakdown of a friendship. It's not a man.
Oh, God.
It was
about it.
Yeah, it was me and someone else, and I didn't have to live with that in the public eye like you guys had to. And what has that been like? And what would you tell your daughter about friendship, female friendship, which is so valuable, but can be really painful?
Yeah, absolutely. Friendship breakups, like you said, are oftentimes worse than heartbreak, because even when you go through the heartbreak, you've got your friendship circle to lean on. So when you don't have that go-to anymore for whatever reason, it is incredibly painful, and I feel like it's longer lasting as well. I feel like sometimes heartbreak can be quite temporary, but then, you know, you move on. Whereas with friendships, that you have the memories, you have so many things, so it is really, really tricky. And yeah, no, I mean, dealing with it in the public is not nice because you've got all the extra opinions. It's hard enough as it is because you know the truth, you know the realities of the situation, you know the actual ins and outs, and so to have people chiming in with their interpretations of things and it being so off. And getting it so wrong, and it's really hard to not defend yourself. I think dealing with it publicly, that was one of the hardest things, because we were advised, don't reply, and that's always the best advice. When people say ignore it, take the high road, it will blow over. At the time when people are like coming at you left, right and centre and inserting their opinions, it's the hardest thing to do, to not defend yourself. In the long run, it's always the best thing because you can't misquote silence, you know. At the time, it was awful. It was really awful. And of course, it's like, you're dealing with the false narratives and stuff like that, but you are also genuinely grieving the end of a friendship as well. Outside of like any work relationship, there was very much a sisterhood, you know, and you no longer have that. And then on top of it, you've got the dynamic of having to go back to work, because it is work, you know, like doing a show, it is work. So there was so many layers to the situation that made it tricky, but it was a learning curve. Just after I'd been smug about never having these friendships, it was just like a clear out. It was just a cleanse. Like sometimes it's necessary, and I don't think it necessarily has any bearing on you as a person or even them. It's just a clear out to reset, to make room for new things to come through. But I'll absolutely speak to my daughter about that. You know, you're going to have close friends that you think you're going to be with forever, and it may not be that way, and definitely work towards it being a long-lasting friendship. But also, if it's not serving you, or if it's becoming toxic, or if it's becoming one-sided and you have to let it go, let it go. But I definitely will teach her that it is a part of life. Yeah, and it's just a heartbreak she's going to have to go through, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, and she'll be fine.
And also another misconception is that all your friends have to be friends that you met in school.
Yeah, people shame you for having new friends. There's nothing wrong with you meet new people at different stages of your life.
As long as you know how to pick them and you're able to see, you know, which flags are which, then
absolutely,
you know, there's loads of people that you'll meet and they'll work out to be really good friends later on in life.
Absolutely.
But I'm really glad for your daughter that she has all these years worth of your voice, which you talk about in the letter, your voice on the podcast, and you speaking about your life and the things, giving people advice as agony aunts. What do you think she'll make of the podcast? And are you proud of what she listened to?
Oh God, not all of it, because some of it she can't listen to till she's 18, definitely. But it was reflective of a time, so I'm not going to be too hard of myself. But no, I'm excited for her to have that. You know, I am, and I didn't even think of it from the perspective of like she's actually got my advice in my voice. Like I'd never actually thought about that specific part of it. But yeah, no, like it's such an amazing legacy.
Yeah.
We do the podcast and we think about how it helps other people, and I don't necessarily always tap into how it's going to help the people that are in my life, you know? But no, I feel really happy and proud that she's going to have access to that. And you know, some things are going to be cringy, some things are going to be embarrassing, but that's her mum.
Yeah.
You know, that's her mum.
Yeah. So just to wrap up, what is the one piece of advice you'd want to share with daughters everywhere, as well as your daughter and my daughter, Coco?
I would say the number one message is to honestly navigate this world with audacity. Everybody has something to offer this world, and oftentimes people's voices are silenced because they haven't been encouraged to use their gifts. And so I encourage daughters everywhere, you know, just people everywhere, that like